All right, let's talk data. If you spent any time in this world, you've definitely heard these three terms thrown around: database, data warehouse, and data lake. They're totally fundamental, but let's be real, it's super easy to get them mixed up. So today, we're going to clear all that confusion up for good.
So do you really know the difference? When I first started in analytics, I pretty much only ever heard about the database. And that's super common, but trust me, understanding how all three of these work and work together is a total game changer. Let's start with the one most of us are familiar with.
Okay, first up is the classic, the database. Think of this as the engine that keeps a business running every single day. It's your digital filing cabinet, and it's all about what's happening right now.
Now, most of the time when people say database, they're talking about a relational database. Its whole job is to handle something called OLTP, which stands for Online Transactional Processing. Sounds kind of complex, right? But all it means is that when you buy a coffee, that one single sale is recorded instantly. It's built for capturing those individual transactions as they happen in real time.
So what makes a database a database? Well, first, it's all about that live, super detailed data. We're talking neat tables with rows and columns for every little thing. And second, and this is really important, its structure, or what we call its schema, is pretty flexible. You can change it on the fly as the business evolves, which is absolutely crucial for day-to-day operations.
Okay, but that flexibility creates a bit of a problem. What happens when you want to look at the big picture? Like, say you want to analyze 10 years of sales data from 5 different systems all at once. If you try to run that giant query on your live database, you could slow everything down to a crawl. And you definitely don't want to stop today's sales just to analyze yesterday's.
And that is exactly why we have our second tool, the data warehouse. This is the purpose-built solution for that exact problem. It's the Analyst's Hub, a place designed specifically for looking back at history, finding trends, and trying to predict the future, all without messing with the live business.
At its heart, a data warehouse is still technically a database, but it's been fine-tuned for a completely different job. We just talked about OLTP for transactions, right? Well, a warehouse is built for OLAP, Online Analytical Processing. The name says it all. It's optimized for one thing: analyzing massive amounts of historical data and getting you answers fast.
So, how does the data get in there? Well, it doesn't just show up. It has to go through a really important 3-step process called ETL. Think of it like a data refinery. First, you extract the raw data from all your different operational databases. Then, you transform it. This is where you clean it up, summarize it, and get it all structured nicely. And finally, you load that polished, analysis-ready data into the warehouse.
So you'll see its main features are pretty much the polar opposite of a regular database. It holds historical, summarized data, not live transactions. The data is pulled together through that ETL process we just talked about. And here's the kicker: its schema is rigid. You have to plan it out very carefully ahead of time, because that strict structure is its superpower. It's what lets you run those huge, complex reports so incredibly fast.
Okay, let's put them side by side just to lock it in. The database is for the now, it's for recording live detailed transactions, and it has a flexible design. The data warehouse is for the past. It's for analyzing historical, summarized data, and it has a rigid design that's built for speed. See? 2 different tools for 2 very different jobs.
But hold on, the world isn't all neat and tidy tables. What about all the messy modern data? I'm talking about videos, images, social media posts, sensor logs, stuff that just won't fit into the clean rows and columns of a database or a warehouse. What do we do with all that?
And this is where our third and final player enters the game, the data lake. This is the wild frontier of data storage. The philosophy here is really simple: store everything in its raw original format because you just might need it someday. The name is perfect, really. A data lake is just a massive, vast body of raw data. You can just throw anything you want in there. Structured, unstructured, doesn't matter. You don't clean it, you don't transform it first, you just store it, as is.
So what kind of stuff goes into a data lake? Literally anything you can think of. Videos, photos, PDFs, sensor readings from a factory floor, social media feeds, the whole shebang. You just dump it all in there. And that's precisely what makes it a goldmine for things like AI and machine learning, which can dive into all that raw, messy info and uncover patterns a human would never see.
So here's the most important takeaway. This is not a competition. It's not database versus warehouse versus lake. One isn't better than the others. They're a toolkit. And in fact, most modern companies are using all 3 at the same time for different reasons. It's all about picking the right tool for the job.
Let's sum it all up one last time. For your day-to-day business operations, you need a database. For making smart business decisions based on historical trends, you need a data warehouse. And for exploring huge, messy data sets to fuel things like machine learning, you're going to want a data lake. Simple as that.
So now that you know the difference between these powerhouse tools, it really just leaves one last question. Think about your own company, your own projects. How is your data being stored?